There. Yeah, perfect. There we go. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Louie. Man, future presentations. I'm going to dress like Louie. This guy looks so relaxed. When I used to work in Kelowna, we worked in this clinic and the air conditioning broke. I'll never forget it. So then the guy that I worked with, Lauren, he's a great guy, said, okay, everybody can wear shorts and sandals to work and just the thinnest, lightest shirt you can find because it was like 40 degrees outside. And we're lucky if it was 30 degrees in the building for about 2 weeks. And so we jokingly called it hot physio. You know, it's like you come in like hot yoga. Yeah, it was terrible. Oh, we're just drinking like water. Like I had to wear 2 shirts for every shift because halfway through I had to change shirts because it was just like drenched. But yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. What's wrong? Yeah. 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 Oh.
We miss Louie's mic. We
Yeah.
can't hear him.
Yeah. So I only have one. Actually, I do have 2, but I didn't realize I was going to need them. I should have brought. I finally got another one in the from Amazon.
Yeah.
So Belle asked because I forget my headphones sometimes, and I've got like 3 different desks I look at. So now I've got one for every desk. So now I should have no problems. I'm just going to leave the little plug-in and the headphone on each desk. So I don't know. Do you know if my computer has an extra mic set up?
If you can, but
Can you hear him?
you have to disconnect. But you have to disconnect your Bluetooth.
Yeah. So if I take this out, let's just try this. Can you hear us now?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you go ahead, Louie?
What would happen if we presented without the headset from back here? Can you hear us or not really?
We can hear you, but the mask is like blocking some sounds. You guys sound nasal.
Maybe when we're jamming at the end, we can just stand closer.
Yeah, plug back in.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's what we're going to do, Belle. At the end, we're just going to kind of stand close to the monitor when we're doing the Q&A.
Sure.
Click. Oh, there it goes. It's just telling me it's got 14 hours left. Yeah, there we go. I can hear you now.
Good.
Can you hear me? We're clear? Okay, good. Yeah, we'll just change halfway through the headphone. At the end, we'll kind of huddle near the laptop so you can hear us nice and loud and clear.
Okay.
All right, do you want to start, Belle?
Start now, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome everyone. And welcome Sandy. Welcome to our Thursday edition of our journey to better health. So we have 2 great topics today presented by, and I want to introduce Louie to Sandy because it's Sandy's first time attending here, and to other people. Our guest presenter beside Blair is Louie Stack. He was born in 1959 and raised in Calgary, and he's the youngest of 7 kids.
I think I'm okay.
Louie started Fitter First in 1985. After placing pro fitters in all the 1988 Winter Olympic training venues without permission, Louie gained worldwide TV exposure for the company. Louie raced in the national speed skiing team from 1991 to 1995 and reached a top speed of 205.56 kph. In 2016, Louie and his wife Margaret ran Fitter and won the Entrepreneur of the Year Award for Prairie Provinces. Let us all welcome Louie Stack.
All right.
And of course, I have my very own Blair Schachterle of Nose Creek Physiotherapy, who started Nose Creek 19 years ago and has been a physiotherapist for 28 years. He's passionate about keeping people moving to stay healthy and as they start to age. Let us all welcome Blair Schachterle. Okay, you can just unmute yourself if you have any questions.
Really loud and clear.
And if you have message to tell me or tell the panelists, you can just use the chat box. Okay, I'm giving the floor now to Blair.
Okay, that was a great introduction. Thanks, Belle. All right, so let's make sure everyone can use their chat box. So my icebreaker question for today is I want you to get your chat box ready and put in the chat box, do you have children or grandchildren? So yes or no. And if it's yes, I want to know how many children you have and how many grandchildren you have if you're old enough to have grandchildren. All right, so go ahead and fill that in there. I'm just going to sneak up to see what comes in here. There we go. Oh, we only got one. Did we get a couple in the chat box, Bill? Remember, you're in charge of the chat box. You're my eyes. There we go. Yvonne, one son, 35 years old. Okay, good. Then how about Patricia? Yes, 4 daughters, 3 grandchildren. Soon to be 4. That's exciting. Wow. Okay, good. So you'll relate to a lot of this stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. Good. Okay. Yeah, Bell's just muted now, Davis, so I'll just get started. So today's topic is physical activity and children's health. So it's something, as a father of 2 kids, I'm very passionate about, and Louie is the same way. He's got 3 kids as well, and we'll probably chat about that a little bit when he presents in the second half. So a couple key points I just wanted to emphasize with children's health is physical activity keeps the body strong, healthy, and can improve your mental health, and it can also decrease symptoms of depression, anxiety, pain, and loneliness. Physical activity can also improve your focus, your school performance, your sleep, and your energy levels. Children who participate in regular physical activity enjoy improved relationships and a more positive body image. So if we break it down into what happens with your anatomy, because I'm a bit of an anatomy geek, we can sort of break it into 3 main key areas. So if we look at the body, active kids have stronger bones, stronger muscles, stronger heart and lungs, and the potential for your bone health is built between the ages of 10 and 14. So the parenting tip is if you have any children between ages of 10 and 14, you want to get them super active in that 4-year period because their potential for bone is built in that time period for the rest of their life. And then after age 20, it's kind of a slow decline, everything related to our anatomy, unfortunately. And then for the brain, basically, when we exercise, there's all sorts of chemical reactions going on in our brain that really help our body and stimulate our brain, and actually causes more creativity. They've proven that as well. So people that are more active tend to be more creative. And then the last one is emotions and moods. So in today's society, there's a lot of mental health issues that are kind of, we're all concerned about. But they have found with studies that kids that are active, there's less use of antidepressants and anxiety sort of medication from a medical point of view. So again, really nice side effect to keep people active, in children especially. So I sort of geeked out on some research stuff last night and the last couple of days. And what I'm going to talk about is 7 different sort of big projects that basically give us the why of why we have to keep our kids active. So the first one was screen time research. So the recent research found that 63% of kids in the US spend over 2 hours a day on recreational screen time. So in spite of the official guidelines of the American Academy of Pediatrics, which recommends less than 1 hour per day for children between the ages of 2 and 5 and older children to have a consistent timeline on that, and really prioritizing sleep, physical activity, and other healthy behaviors over the use of media. The World Health Organization has issued guidelines that basically are stressing that kids between the ages of 2 and 4 should have no more than 1 hour per day. Okay? Screen time is also, the next study, associated with inattentive problems with preschoolers. Okay? I can relate to this with my kids at home. When my son gets on any of his devices, I have to yell at him to get his attention. He just gets totally sort of focused on the device. Anyway, the studies analyzed basically, and parents reported that there was some inattentive and aggressiveness in samples of over 2,333 Canadian pre-age school students. And the research found that over 13% of kids in the sample were exposed to over 2 hours of screen time, including TV, DVD, playing games, using the computer, tablets, and mobile devices. Now, the effects of this is kids who were exposed to more screen time showed significant decrease in behavioral problems at age 5. Or increased rather behavioral problems by age 5. Briefly, children who watched more than 2 hours of screen time per day had an increased attention and behavior issues, anxiety, depression, and a total behavior problem scores compared to children who were watching less than 20 minutes of TV per day. So there's a definite relationship there. Another study showed they did 58 studies in what they call a systemic review, where a researcher looks at all different studies. And that included almost 500,000 participants ranging from age 4 to 18 years of age. So these articles were published between 1958 to 2018 and represented the efforts of researchers found all around the world. Okay? The studies looked at computer, internet, mobile phone, telephone, and video game usage for individuals, as well as overall screen time. The key findings was that the systemic review for most papers that they reviewed showed that as time watching television increased, so as the time for the television increases, the academic performance went down. So there's definitely a relationship there. And for other devices, they weren't quite sure, and this is back in 2018. So a lot of the research now from 2018 to today is actually looking at all the other devices. This was just focusing on television at the time. The authors also analyzed and found that television watching was linked to poor overall academic performance and even poor language and mathematical sort of performances as well. And the authors found that they spent screens, the screen had a definite negative association with academic performance for both adolescents and children. Okay, and so again, what their authors are recommending from this study is that both educators and health professionals like myself should be focusing screen time reduction efforts on television and video games because of that negative connection to the academic performance, and also the side effect of the sedentary lifestyle, which we've already touched on in earlier presentations. So in the fourth study, screen time is associated with adiposity and insulin resistance. So adiposity means fat, basically. So the study showed the relationship between screen time and type 2 diabetes risk factors. And they looked at about 5,000 children in the UK between the ages of 9 and 10. Basically, the short of it was that kids who spent over 3 hours a day on screen time were less lean and more likely to show signs of insulin resistance, which can contribute to the development of type 2 diabetes, compared with peers who reported 1 hour or less of screen time each day. And then the fifth study said digital media and sleep in children and adolescents. So this report summarized 67 studies and found an association between screen time and sleep health, adequate sleep length and quality in children and adolescents. The main takeaway was that 90% of the studies, when they did these reviews, showed that the screen time in children and teenagers found adverse associations between screen time and sleep health, primarily because of later bedtimes and less time spent sleeping. So if the researchers kind of delved deeper into why, and they found that the underlying mechanism in this study was that there was a time displacement. Time displacement they defined as time scrolling on Instagram and Facebook for an hour that might otherwise be spent sleeping. So the psychological stimulation from content consumed and impact on screen time affected their sleep patterns. Okay, so the upshot of this is that these kids are tired. Okay, and my wife's a teacher, so she sees some of these kids come to school tired. So basically, the tip here from a parenting point of view and a grandparenting point of view is that you should not allow devices in the kids' bedrooms so that they're not playing on devices when they should be sleeping. So that's a big bit of a tip there. The next study talked about increased depressive symptoms, suicidal outcomes, and suicidal rates among U.S. adolescents after 2010 linked to new media screen times. So the study showed the relationship between screen time and depression and suicide rates of over 500,000 adolescents in the US between 2010 and 2015. And so the data, screen time use, and mental health issues came from 2 nationally represented surveys of students between grades 8 and 12. Okay? The analysis found that there's a clear pattern linking screen activity with higher levels of depressive suicidal ideation, which means the thought of committing suicide, and attempts and non-screen activities with lower levels. So among participants who used the devices for over 5 hours per day, nearly half or 48% reported at least one suicidal related outcome. And in comparison to 29% of those who used devices just for 1 hour a day had at least one suicide related outcome. So overall, during the time these studies were done, they found a big difference in gender. So girls accounted for most of the rise. So they were more likely to experience depressive symptoms and suicidal related outcomes than boys. They also experienced a greater effect of screen time on mental health. In particular, girls, but not boys, had significant correlations between social media use and depressive symptoms. So my little 8-year-old girl, I'm going to be really careful with her media use, make sure that she's staying active. And the very last study that I put in here, again, kind of goes full circle back to what Louie and I are really passionate about, what's intervention designs to reduce sedentary behaviors in young people. So this review looked at 10 systemic reviews and did their research and intervention to reduce sedentary behaviors such as screen time among children and adolescents. The interventions tended to be more successful among children younger than 6 years old. Strategies that were effectively included restricted access to the television through TV monitors, systems that use TV as a reward for physical activity, and a behavior behavior interventions such as setting goals and developing a schedule for screen time. So again, my wife being a teacher, she's already using this strategy at home. So basically she'll say to the kids, time to get outside for a couple hours. If you go and play for a couple hours, I'll let you play on your iPad for half an hour maybe. And she'll do something like that and really weigh more physical activity into their daily life and less screen time if she can. But I know we all sort of have kids and we're all busy, but just be careful how much time you're spending on the screen time. So today's topic will tie really well into what Louie calls his kind of family package that he has put together for you guys today as well. And so he's going to go through some of the activities that he's engaged kids with and some of the products he's sold successfully to elementary schools in the past. So I'll just hand the headphones over to Louie now.
My computer seems to have died this morning, so my little soundstage had to be compromised, and we went from the infallible Macintosh computer to the apparently today trustworthy PC. So I want to point out, even on our building here, we have this interesting little picture. I hope you can see it, but those little kids right there, see that little dog? Sorry about the glare, but that little dog comes to work every day still. It was a year old there. That little girl graduated from the University of Notre Dame last week at home with me and my wife. She's now 21. And see how they're playing on those little products? Well, they still use those products today. They both sit on active products at work and at university. And they grew up playing on fitness balls, sitting on fitness balls, on ball chairs. We didn't have these exercise things like ball chairs on purpose in our house. This is just what we had. We didn't have regular chairs. We had them, but they played, like when they watched TV, they were rolling on a ball. And we had foam rollers and we had things around, so they had the option. What we discovered is that the kids really preferred to move. They didn't want to be the slouch on the couch, if you will. They were really much more interested in movement and dynamic engagement if it was made available to them. So right out of the gate, what we really learned, both as a company and as an individual, Fitter's 4 pillars are, again, injury and rehab, or prevention, excuse me, athletics and training. That's for the people trying to get the gold medal performance. When I finished being an athlete in 1995 and my kids were born, my wife had gone through pre and postnatal classes and used exercise balls to help improve the pelvic girdle stability in the spine after pregnancy. And they used fitness balls for that. And then we were using them with babies, and that's where fitness balls first started in Switzerland, is babies with health problems. They would roll them on the ball and try to get the core stabilization engaged with the baby and have them improve their spatial awareness. And that was where Swiss balls, why they're called Swiss balls, is they were first used to help young children develop core stabilization. And then Joanne Postermeyer brought them back to North America. And then it sort of expanded from there. They discovered mothers would benefit. And then they said, well, you don't have to be pregnant or recovering from pregnancy to benefit. You can benefit just using them. And so that was 1991, or 91, 2, 3, 4 era. And our first child was born in 95. So we brought fitness balls into Canada around that time. So we were very early adapters. So our kids were using even these little balls like this, sitting on them and just kind of playing. They didn't know what was good for them. They were just having fun and being active and staying alert. That led us to the whole family fitness pillar. And as I showed Blair last week, again, I can't really show you exactly, so the glare will be too bad, but we developed this whole active pack for the schools. And what it was, I will give it a small effort here, but I'll show you the products in a second. This is a whole bunch of kids, being our kids and our nephews, playing with some very simple products that we could open the bag up. It was a big backpack and just dump literally all the products out. This is when the schools cut all the education programs to save money. So they're going to have phys ed programs stop. And that way the kids would sit in school all day and learn effectively and do nothing but learn and get no exercise and going, this doesn't sound like a good idea. So we developed a simple program at the request of a lot of the teachers with a big backpack. And what it came with was this laminated chart. But needless to say, the kids would never look at the chart, but the teacher could look at the chart. And the point was that the teacher could look at it for ideas, but you really didn't have to give the kids the ideas. They already had them in their head. What they simply needed was like the balance stones to stand on. And believe it or not, the sit disc to put on their head and walk around with good posture and try to balance on the balance stones. Like, no one has to say, do this. They just do. They just did it. The funnest one was jousting, and I'll get you to help me right now. So we'll put these balance stones on the ground. I'll stand on the sit fit, and we'll take these, and you put one in one hand, and we're going to cross over.
Louis,
So
can you tilt the camera to?
You just need to see that. We're just standing on these balancing things. They're hard to balance.
Okay.
We're just going to try to pull each other off balance. So it's just called jousting. And what I'm trying to do is, I'm cheating because we don't want you to see our feet. No, we do. I do this with World Cup ski racers too. And we're watching each other, and trying to, by me watching him watching me. When he pulls, I let go. When I pull, he lets go, and we joust. So it's just like literally a game of jousting, right? Yeah. You can do it with a little banding, softer. We can pull this all we want. If I let go, I don't hurt him. You can do it standing on foam rolls. You saw Blaine using this golfing. Well, if we do the same thing standing on these, we're working our balance. So we can throw a ball back and forth. There's endless simple ideas, like things like taking this and trying to balance little stones on it and pass them along, and just passing it to each other without dumping the stones off. Like, it's not hard. It's just fun. I think that's not the exact one. They were laying on their backs, actually, and passing it from their feet to their hands to the next person, from their feet, and just playing games. But these are all things that we're showing in here, and they would let the kids just play with all this stuff for half an hour, bean bags, have to catch the other hand. So it just was all sort of things you could do. So that was the idea of the active pack, and the teacher would let the kids go to the gym, virtually without supervision, and just have a bunch of fun stuff to play with that no one would get hurt. And it really didn't take a lot of guidance because the kids would figure out what to do with it, and it was amazing what they came up with. Fortunately, the phys ed program came back into the schools. Some structure is better, but if you can't have structure, then, like you said, just get them outside and get them active. And one of the most important things about everything Fitter is about, like even our toners that we design, the whole concept of these is if you get hit by them, they're not going to hurt you. I'm not suggesting you should get hit by them, and I won't go into the story I told you, but some of them have hard plastic handles, and I'm not saying they're wrong, but I wouldn't let kids go joust them, pulling them at each other. If you get let go and get hit in the face, it's not going to injure you permanently, but it's going to hurt, but it's still relatively safe. These are all soft foam, and when we designed them, it's totally intentionally that accidents do happen. Let's not hurt anybody. Stuff can go wrong, but our balance boards and stuff like that are all, they're adjustable, but they're kind of intended. If you're going to throw this at another kid, it's not great. It's not a frisbee, but things like the balls are all very soft and easy to play with, and we try to make it so that you're not likely to create an injury. You're likely to have fun. And so when you go through Fitter, you'll see a lot of applications of a lot of products that have a whole bunch of different usage, and it depends on the stage of a person's life, and sometimes their age too. But what we really kind of point out to people is about which stage you're at. If you've been injured, then you're at the recovery stage. If you're practicing for a sport as a young kid, trying to get your coordination, then you're at that stage. If you're trying to get an Olympic gold medal, you're at that stage. If you had a double hip replacement, you're at that stage. Those things can happen at any age in your life. It's all about your attitude and how you decide you're going to deal with it. And so we really try to help people figure out where they are in their physical body, and then where they're at in their mental mindset of their life, and help them prepare and deal with those things within their capacity, right? And then you get them prepared for that within their context of their life, or their spouse's life, or their grandparents' life, or their children's life, and accommodate them, because it's about them. It's not about us. It's not about the product. It's about getting it to fit within their life. And I think really that's the main thing Fitter's done. It's about the balance and fitness for life, but it's the person's life and making its quality of their living as best as it can be for them. Does that make sense? Well, do you want to go here? So, oh no, that doesn't work. Here. Okay, I'll repeat the question. The question is, what's my favorite piece of equipment for kids for motor skill literacy? Again, there's a bit of an age question there, because 3 to 7-year-olds would be a little bit different than say 6 to 11, because there's different skill sets being developed. We were talking about this the other day, and the toughest thing to see, I call it herd soccer. We've all seen our kids go through. They all run around the field together and just chase the ball. And you notice when you see the kid that can't even run yet because he really doesn't fit in and he feels unengaged and like he doesn't belong because he can't even play with the kids. So I think it's just so important there's the neck down components of coordination and muscular control and balance and walking and stuff. And when kids aren't very motor skill controlled, we're really looking at their balance and the firing of all the muscles, and they just need to move more and work stability and balance. And I'm a really big fan of things like soft boards and balance boards for that kind of thing. The Ballast Stones, and even something as simple as a sit fit, standing on that. I'll tip this down a bit here. Having to balance on this product, like see how it floats and moves, and if you stand on that one as well, I mean, you can sit on this or stand on this. A lot of the schools buy these sit fits because they're super versatile. Heads up, good posture. Just standing on that is quite hard, but you can also sit on it at your desk, and I can perturbate you and push you and throw you things. So that's a super low-cost, versatile product that has lots of application. The ball in your hand's a little bit hard to stand on, but you can kneel on it, and you can wipe out on that one. But probably the sit discs are one of the most favorite because they're so versatile. 1 leg, 2 leg, sitting, standing, right? Jousting, throwing and catching. Just any motor skill, throwing that ball against the wall and catching it again. Yeah. Well, 2 or 1 foot. And the biggest thing is they're going to be dominant much better on 1 leg. So you want to work the weaker link. We're always trying to work the weakest, as you well know, improve the weaker link, because that's always going to be the problem. The Ballast Stones are awesome for kids. They come in a set of 6. They set them up and walking and doing a game. And like even doing a puzzle where you stand on Ballast Stone, sit fit, because it's different textures. So you'll be having to deal with the different textures and different feelings. And if there is a Ballast board in it, for example, this is a different texture when you're walking on it. And you're doing little patterns, and you're kind of walking from one thing to the next, and they all have a different sensation. So the kids will have to work on the balance, right? And all that kind of motor skill stuff is so important. And then we really try to work in heads up posture, and not looking so much at where they're stepping, but looking at where they're going. Or if we see ski racing and driving a car, you don't look at in front of the car. You look where you go, like 3 turns out, or 50 feet or 100 feet in front of you. And even hunters and gatherers, if you're trying to catch food, you didn't look where you're walking. You're looking way out in front, and like trying where the rabbit's going to, and where you're going to throw a rock at the rabbit. You don't look at where the rabbit is. You look at where the rabbit's going to go. Yeah.
Louie, there's a question here.
Okay.
How about for hand-eye coordination? Anything for that?
Well, we were just talking, Blair, it's a hand-eye coordination question. So I think that's relevant. It just happened to be good timing, because I had mentioned about looking where Paul Chek is a good friend of mine and very well-known author of Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. It's my favorite book ever written about general health and wellness. He's talked about hunters and gatherers, and hand-eye coordination is a big part of. We talked about standing on a product like this and taking a ball and throwing something. Oh yeah, the little throwing and catching. Like anytime a kid can stand on something unstable and throw and catch a ball and move it. And when I'm working with World Cup ski races in the past and we're doing jousting, they'll get off an airplane, they have jet lag. They'll come to Lake Louise for the first race of the year. They'll stand on this and bongo boards, and they'll joust, and they'll throw and catch medicine balls with each other. And it's, go ahead, let's do this. So I don't know if our heads are caught, but so they'll throw and catch, but they won't throw it center. So a 5-pounder off to the side, right? And you have to, when it's heavier, yeah, it comes to the side, and they'll do 360s and stuff, and they'll intentionally not throw it where you expect it to go. So you're challenging the hand-eye coordination, and if a child's doing it, one thing is to throw it straight, always consistent, which is one good thing to do too. Very consistent, but then sometimes we do have a product called a reaction ball that is a non-round ball. It's designed not to bounce straight. So when you throw it between two people, it bounces crooked on purpose. They're little rubber balls, and they have an unfortunate propensity to bounce in funny places. So one must be alert. But working hand-eye coordination tends to come not so much from that 3 to 7-year-old range. Generally, we see very athletic kids that have good motor skill first, or sorry, you have to get the body skill, you have to learn how the limbs work first and learn to walk and run properly, and then you can start enhancing again. You know more about this, but the limbs got to first get understood within the body's kinesiology, kinesthetic range, and then you can start fine-tuning those skills. That's when hand-eye coordination starts to come in. That's a ladder skill, I think I believe that's quite true. So when I was talking about the herd soccer, from 3 to 7 range roughly, it's so important to get those fundamental motor skills and strength and structure and relationship with gravity going. And that's a neck up for so many kids. If they don't get that foundational part going, they don't fit in and they lose their self-confidence. And then the next thing is getting tools and games that help their coordinated effort improve and their hand-eye coordination improve and their dexterity improve, right? And that's more the 6 to 11 range, I would suggest. Would that be true? Do you want to weigh in on this? Is there any more questions there, Bill? Blair's going to ask another one then.
Can you repeat the question for us, Louie?
Sorry? Well, the Bongo Board is certainly the most, the favorite piece of equipment in our household is the highest challenge piece of equipment that we make. Is called a Bongo Board. And maybe if Allison, are you there? Yeah, can you grab it's right over there. It's the blue one with the highest risk, highest challenge. No, yeah, that one. So the Bongo Board, it's say right on it, highest risk, highest reward, highest challenge. It will make people fall to the ground. It was invented in the 50s, and the gentleman who invented this was a pilot, and he was flying in Africa, and he saw African kids on the beaches balancing on driftwood on pieces of wood. And the reason we say highest challenge, highest risk, highest reward is this is, in the sense, it's called there's a whole bunch of different types of balance. I'll just demonstrate it, but the concept you might have, oh no, we're there. When you stand on this, first of all, it kicks up a bit. I'm going to move my core over, and you'll see what happens. It's going to kick up, and I have to transfer my body weight over the board. So I have to keep my core over the roller, and the roller will, or the board will always roll downhill. So if I don't keep the board flat, the board, as I'll display here in a second, will roll downhill. And if I don't react correctly, the board will tip and it'll roll downhill. If I don't keep over the center, my body will quickly tip, and then it'll quickly try to recover, and it'll flip the other way. And on the third time that it goes, don't, I'll go shooting this way, and the board will go shooting that way. And it also, we designed it so it's very unstable. It also likes to turn quite quickly. And so it's very fast, and athletes love it, but it's very dangerous because you don't know what you're doing. You wipe out very quickly. Skaters, wakeboarders, skiers, snowboarders, they love it because it uses the whole neuromuscular, the eyes, the ears, the core. It's very fast. We make something called the Extreme Balance Board that's almost as challenging, but it won't make them wipe out. The Extreme Board doesn't have the rolling fulcrum. We recently put the hooks on the end, which are bumpers. so it's not as dangerous. Sure, and I'll explain the difference here. This one, you'll see how it slides just a bit here. So unlike the Bongo Board, this does have movement, but it's designed for gyms and clubs where you can leave it on the floor. You can imagine on that one I was just on, if I left that on the floor, and even a big, strong athlete unsuspectingly comes and steps on it, doesn't understand it, it's going to take off and he's going to hit the floor hard, could break an arm. This one, if I go stand on it, it's hard, and it moves a lot, and it spins. It's quite difficult. It's got 2 settings. You can lock it in or out, so I can make it much easier. But blue tape is harder. It was easier. Black tape's harder. But it doesn't roll, so I'm not going to wipe out. So if I don't like it, I'll step off, but I won't crash. That's on the easier setting, but still, it's not easy. So we call it a double black diamond product because it's very difficult, but it's not high risk to the user. Now, if you step off for 1 second. So we do have products literally that go from something a double hip replacement can use fresh after 2 hips or a stroke to elite athletes getting ready for a gold medal performance, and challenge kids from 4 years old or 3 years old all the way up to an elite athlete literally, going to bed the night before his gold medal performance at the Olympic Games. That'll get his spidey senses tingling. He's his best shape he'll ever be in his whole life, but he's got to get over jet lag. And if he's nervous as heck, and he knows that tomorrow's the day of his life, he's not going to get in better shape, but he's got to get his mind ready to do the magical thing. And it's these kind of products that get you there. So it's the whole realm. Like I said, it's not about age. It's more about stage and where you're at. And that's sort of what Fitter's about, is we help all different types of people with what they need at the time they need it. Does that help you guys sort of?
Yeah. Can I comment on one thing?
I'd love to have a comment, sure.
Okay, I really like that board that you were using. I would think that snowboarders would find that a good training tool.
Yeah, snowboarders love that product because of the rotation aspect of it.
Yeah.
They love them both, actually, but yes, they both have pros and cons depending who you ask. I'm just going to pop this up a bit here. Is that Davis we're talking with?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Davis. I'm just
okay, so I also, that would be better one for me because I really don't want to wipe out.
Yeah.
Around here we have, like, I'm close to the coast, so there's lots of opportunities to go on driftwood and these big logs, driftwood logs that have come up on the beach. And I find that very challenging. I mean, they're stable, but they have different contours all the way up and down, and they can be slipperier in some places as well. And so that's very, like I say, very challenging for me to try to walk along those.
Well, it hurts when you fall too, doesn't it?
It really hurts. It does.
David, I've kind of concluded in life, I don't like falling anymore. And crashing, I just really don't like. I mean, skiing, I don't mind, a little bit, but I'm 60 years old and I've been hurt enough times that I really just would rather not get hurt anymore. It's not that much fun. I don't, I like physical therapists, but
you don't want to see them all the time.
no, I one more knee to get fixed, and that's 3. No, no, 3 knees fixed now. No. But I really concluded I've been through it enough times that staying fit and healthy is really a goal, and getting injured is not a goal. So I respect your comments. I understand. I hear you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions offhand?
How about you? Okay. So, yeah, I think that was a ton of information in regards to a great package. Like
how much is the package?
You know, to be honest, we haven't put one out for a while because when the schools started doing phys ed again over the last couple of years, I mean, different provinces have different programs. That there was you know, it happened for about 5 years. We were putting out a whole bunch of those packages at demand of customers and PTs and trainers and schools. Like we sponsored a group called Fit for Play, and we had a trailer that ran around the city and all of Alberta doing in-school education. And we outfitted the trailer, and then you know, then that actually, when they stopped the phys ed program to save money, that was such a great idea. So then that sort of, you know, another government came in and said, gee, maybe this is a bad idea. And then they started putting phys ed back into schools, and the demand kind of went away. So let's hope that that doesn't change and create a government body comes in and says, let's save money by removing wellness from our lives.
Right.
But COVID's kind of done that its own way. So these ebbs and flows in life that life throws at us, I guess we have to be nimble and respond as for the market. So, you know, I think it was around a couple $100 to my recollection. It was a lot of equipment, was it? Well, it was a lot of equipment. And like, again, I really want to emphasize the point of that whole program, and we'll listen to our market, you know. I had a letter this morning from a young OT, a young lady in New York. Her significant other was an OT. Kind of sad. He died. He was like 32 years old of COVID. He was a frontline caregiver. He was from the Philippines, and he had done a documentary on. It's called The Wasteful Mountain, I think it was. It was with all these people in the Philippines living on in basically their home had been turned into a dump. And he made this documentary and won a bunch of awards for it. And he just died in the front line. And we'll certainly support. It's on it'll be on our Facebook page, but we're going to support his cause, his foundation. To but, you know, so things like this come up, right? And we're about to see a whole new realm of, I guess we're going to call it opportunities and causes, where we see things that are important that we as a society and population choose to help. And whether it's local or international or whatever else, as they said, in a lot of therapy clinics are just shuttered right now. We're struggling. Everyone's struggling. So you kind of pick your fights and try to decide which causes need help. And right now we're trying to figure out what is the causes where we can make a difference. And for us, it's usually trying to help a product. And you know, the school cause doesn't seem to be even one that's on the radar screen because schools are closed. That's right. But it's that whole need, and we're working with. I will mention, if you don't mind, through the University of Calgary, Nicole Colas-Reed runs the Thrive program. It's for cancer survivors, and they have close to 3,000 people that we're going to the Thrive exercise programs for people recovering from cancer and going for free exercise at places like Repsol Center and all through university. Well, that's all closed, so all those cancer survivors are now trying to figure out what to do. We put together a package that they're buying at a cost basically for home exercise because they can't get treatment. And we were just approached by one of their sub-boards. I don't know the name of the program, but 30 families have just gotten a fitness ball and a bunch of banding products. They all picked them all up this week. And this is for their kids have cancer, so it's a kids cancer program. And we had some balls here that were good, but they were just slightly seconds. They came from Germany, and so we gave them all to them. And now these 30 kids can go online and get their home exercise program. And as we all know, cancer doesn't, select rich or poor or any different nationality or anything else. And so they've organized all this. Now they're all trying to do it from home. And of course, it's quite challenging. And they expect to have over 3,000 people in Alberta doing home cancer recovery exercise. And this is actually, in many cases, pre-cancer surgery, which has been postponed for many people, which is risky as can be. So they're trying to get in the best shape they can at home before they have their cancer operation, which has been postponed, which is very threatening too. And so, those are causes that are happening first live right now, and they've asked us to help, so we're doing what we can. But that's all product-centric helping. All we can do is give product. We don't have the money to give. But in this case, that's good. So we're all, guys, we're all looking for places we can help. And that's what you're doing too. That's right. That's why we're doing this.
And this is our new reality. And we know that, vaccinations are down the road, and so we have to adjust to that. And Louie and I are passionate about keeping people moving, and with the social isolation, I think there is a higher risk of people not moving as much
Yeah.
and getting all these sort of sedentary lifestyle sort of health risks into their bodies. And so I think it is a great investment, and it's a great gift too. Like I know I'm going to buy that pack for my kids because I want them to be working on their balance. And they're both tripping and falling over their legs right now because they're growing like crazy.
How old are they?
My 12-year-old son is
12?
Yeah, he's like sorry, I got a 12-year-old son, Landon, who's like 5'10" now and tripping over his feet.
Yeah,
legs.
no question about it.
Yeah, and my daughter's 8 and doesn't grow as fast, but you know she's the same way. So I think I'd love to incorporate some of this into their sort of play as well.
You went at 14 years old.
Yeah.
I was young as 7 kids. I all of a sudden shot up to 6'4". I had size 14 feet.
Oh my God.
And like I would look at my body and I couldn't even, what are these?
Yeah.
If I didn't have a paper route of 102 papers, I would have never learned how to walk with it. But I had to walk so much, I learned, right?
Yeah.
I was very active. So
Yeah.
But no one in my family was over 6'1".
Yeah.
So all my clothes didn't fit. So I got all hand-me-downs. And,
Yeah.
you know, just in 1 year, I grew to be monstrous. And it was the weirdest thing. Learning how to do that was.
Yeah.
But back then, we didn't sit in front of TVs all. Like, we were busy all the time.
Exactly.
So
we didn't have devices, did we?
yeah, and then the parks all being closed. Kids can't really get outside that much. So I do. The concept I heard today is the best one I've heard is electronics out of not in the bedroom. Just don't have them there so kids aren't. If they're in bed and want to read, I suppose that's good. But just certainly you can control it if it's not having an iPad, you know, at night in bed or phone in bed. It's everything I've read. That's really good advice to limit that as much as possible. So sleeping should be what you do when you're in bed.
Good point. Yeah, because the brain and the body needs to recharge.
Yeah,
for sure. All right. Any other questions, Bella? No?
No.
Okay. So we'll just start into our close now. And again, if you guys are needing any help from a physical therapy point of view, you know, just give Bill a shout. And we also have the virtual session. We do a free discovery visit for half an hour if you want online. If you have an issue that you have really specific questions about that we can kind of go face to face with and discuss those and set goals with you, and also make sure that you're appropriate for physiotherapy. We always kind of rule out red flags and make sure if there's a medical issue there in your history, we try to get that ruled out first before we engage in rehab. My gift today, Bill, would be just the handout in regards to the information and the studies. I'm happy to share that with people. So if you want that, just contact Bill. I'll give that to her, and then she can just email it to you guys. And Louie, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, our store is still closed, and I think we're going to probably for next week start doing appointments as required. We will book appointments with people to come into the showroom on a need-be basis. If they know what they're after, we can certainly talk to people over the phone if they're looking for a particular product. We do have curbside pickup here at our Blackwood Trails store. That's right by the Crossroads Market. Our online website is www.fitter1, that's number 1.com, or Fitter First. You can just Google that, you'll find us. We have lots of good support online, and 800-FITTER1.com, or 800-FITTER1 is our toll-free number for anywhere in North America. Calling or go online. We're here to help any way we can. I'd love to have our store back open, but the problem is people come in here and touch 100 different things and look around at everything, and it's almost impossible for us to control that. So we haven't quite determined how we're going to get around that little problem yet, other than appointment-only shopping, which might start next week. But really, we can help people on the phones as much as possible. I'm running with Allison. We're here in the showroom from 8 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. But we really ask, please go look online. Shop, look around. We'll send you a catalog if you like, but we would love to help you make educated decisions on products that will help you and your lifestyle for your family at home and in your temporary home office and your workplace. Make sure that the environment you spend your time is an asset to your long-term health. You only get one body. We're only here as long as we are. If you're hired by your employer, you're only being renting out your smarts, your eyes, your fingers, your communication skills. If you donate your spine and your health to your employer, I'm sorry to say that's your problem, not your employer's problem. Don't donate those things to your employer. You own them. They're your right to keep them healthy. It's your responsibility to you and the person in the mirror to take ownership of those things, have a good relationship with gravity, and make sure you use time in your favor and keep your health because it's yours to keep. That's the most important message I have.
That's great. That's a good point, Louie. All right. Well, that concludes our May series. We're really excited and really happy to work with Louie here at Fitter First. term they use when you go on top of the desk, because you need to stand more. Is the bottom rule with all the, or the bottom line rather, with all the research for office work. And then for the family, we've talked about some great products and some. I love the jousting idea. I can hardly wait to do that with my son actually, and my daughter at home. And you know, the other day we talked a little bit about golf. So there's great products for golf rehab as well for those of you that like golfing. And I think we proved that golf is actually a really high risk injury sort of sport, even though it looks like a really simple sport. So the way to prevent injuries there is just the prevention. It's the strengthening and the stretching programs and using some of the products Louie has here as well. So our goal is just to keep you guys active and healthy. And our theme in Nose Creek is get you moving faster and feeling better. So that's what we're trying to do with Louie here and some of his great products. And I just want to thank all of you for coming out and being loyal to our presentations. And again, we're going to be able to post these on our YouTube channel. And if you have friends or family that want to have a look at that information, just refer them to the Nose Creek YouTube channel. Watch any of these programs sort of they choose to watch at their convenience. All right.
Best news is we're a few minutes early. Go outside. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Get a walk in.
That's right.
Step outside for a few minutes and breathe deep. Enjoy the sunshine.
Yeah.
It's the best thing you can do for everything in your body is get out and get a few steps in the sun.
That's right.
Thanks, everybody.
Right.
Have an awesome
Take care.
day. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Val.
Thanks, Bill.